You are listening to 600 Second Saga. Today's feature is Slippery Fish by Ronel van Toender. Cor gripped the pod's thruster, her blue eyes fixed on a distant speck of light. The pod shuddered as the spongy red walls around her constricted, its hull straining under the pressure. Cor gritted her teeth at the squeal of tortured metal. "Come in. Over." Cor snatched up the pod's comlink and held the transmitter to her mouth. "Papa 1, Grax. This is Slippery Fish. Go ahead. Over." "Thought we'd lost you. Over." "Negative. The comlink was momentarily down. The Morsha must have interfered with the signal." The pod was slowing down. "In a spot of trouble here. Over," Cor said, trying to keep the panic from her voice. There was a hiss as the pod split a seam. "Roger," said Papa 1 Grax. "Where's the exit? Over." 50 meters. She glanced at the console. "Losing pressure. Repeat, losing pressure. Over." "Roger. Support won't reach you in time. Over." Cor leaned back in her seat, slowly exhaling. "Stand by." She tried engaging the thrusters, but the mission had been too taxing, and the pod's fuel reserves were close to empty. At another groan, Cor glanced behind her into the meaty darkness of the tunnel she was trapped in. The ship slowed to a crawl. Cor turned forward and grimaced. The windshield of the projectile-shaped pod was smeared with mucus. Her visibility had been reduced to almost zero. Her exit dwindled. "Come in, Slippery Fish. Over." Cor smoothed her face, took a deep breath, and lifted the transmitter to her lips. "Go ahead. Over." "Release the sensor. Too much drag. Over." She thumped the transmitter against her forehead and squeezed her eyes shut. "Cor, Slippery Fish Pexmal, the best Karzadorian fat extractor in Fotal." Her reputation was at stake. "Copy. Over," came Papa's voice. "I didn't hear a will call, Cor. Over." "That's because I didn't give you one," she said. "Over and out." Cor pushed back her shoulders, eyes narrowing as the distant flicker of sunlight. 20 meters now. 20 meters was all that stood between her and victory. "Come in, Slippery Fish." Cor stabbed the transmitter's button. "Stand by," she hissed. "Release the sensor. That's an order. Do you copy?" "I copy," she whispered. "But I sure as Grax don't, Wilco." Cor flipped the plastic visor on the pod's control panel. She activated the self-defense rocket and watched as it charged. The pod's reserves were too minimal to make a difference, but the thrust provided by the rocket just might be enough. The indicator halted at 57%. Cor attempted a smile. It would have to do. As if in response to her thought, the pod trembled. A crack raced down the smeared windshield. Cor held her breath, expecting the glass to shatter inward, but it held. Creaking, squeaking, but it held. Cor activated the transmitter. "Deploying defense rocket. Over." "You have nothing to prove, Cor." The voice was leaden with command. "Release the sensor. Over." "Not my style. Over." "I'll be sure to carve that on your tombstone." She paused, resting the transmitter in her lap for a few seconds as she drew a deep, steadying breath. "I hope I made you proud, Dad. Over." "Cor." "I love you, Dad. Over and out." Cor replaced the transmitter with utter ceremony. lifted her chin, and activated the launcher. The pod jerked forward, spurred by the expulsion of the rocket. Then it came to a halt, energy cells drained. Core stroked the comlink, wondering how long its battery would last. She heard the distant boom of the explosion. A few seconds later, the pod quivered, unable to shift more than a hair in the tight passage. The Morsha bellowed. A violent quake struck the pod, the walls of the gargantuan creature's rectum undulating as a spasm racked the beast. Core cringed in expectation. A wall of excrement slammed into the back of the pod. Some of the vile substance streamed past the pod, but she was acutely aware that she'd just caused a massive blockage in the Morsha's digestive tract. The Morsha broke wind. Core's pod shot forward. The faint pop as it escaped the creature was overwhelmed by the Morsha's trumpet-like fart. The pod described a gentle brown arc in the crystal blue sky of Fabrol. Core's teeth jarred as the pond slammed onto the ice. Her hands pressed against the walls of the pod as it spun on the slick white surface, whirling like a child's toy. It came to rest a few seconds later. Core staggered out and grimaced at the smell. She hurried to the back of the pod, sighing in relief when she saw the sensor still firmly attached via a length of high-tensiled cable. The Morsha straightened from its poop stoop and shook itself. The ice beneath Core quaked. She fell to her knees, watching as the creature blocked out 3 of Fabrol's suns. Then it shuffled away from her, sunlight glaring from the lipid, glittering scales on its back. Grax be praised. She'd survived. Core retrieved the pod's transmitter and glared at the retreating Morsha. "How's that for a landing?" "Over." "Messy." "Over." "I'm alive, aren't I?" "Yeah, but I bet you smell like you've been dead for a week." This was Slippery Fish by Ronel van Toender. Ronel is a science fiction author from South Africa, currently residing in Johannesburg. Her works include dark dystopian sci-fi trilogy, The Corrupted Sun Script, and a standalone cyberpunk novel, The Seventh Glitch. When she's not writing, Ronel spends her free time slaying rendered baddies in the forms of robots, gangsters, and aliens, with any weapon that happens to be at hand. She also runs her own website design company and loves dabbling in graphic design, 3D modeling, and animation. You can pick up a copy of Ronel's new book, The Seventh Glitch, at Amazon, or the first book in her Corrupted Sun Script trilogy for free, also at Amazon. Check our show notes for links. Music is provided by Mads. Learn more about 600 Second Saga, our authors, how to submit your flash fiction, and how to support the podcast in the show notes. This has been Mariah Avix and 600 Second Saga.